Good afternoon, everyone. We are back from recess. And prior to the recess, or I want to remind the witness that you're still under oath, and as well as Mr. Lamato, you're still under oath. Before we took a recess this morning, I had asked the last question, what is the code for Mrs. Diane Torres? To which the witness responded that he does not know if there is a code for Mrs. Diane Torres. At this time, I'm done. I'm concluding my questions for today, and I would like to recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Lieutenant Kaipat. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Good afternoon, Council and Mrs. Kirby. I wanted to begin with some follow-up questions, Madam Chair and colleagues, from the exhibits that have been presented so far today. So, Lieutenant Kaipat, you provided this committee with records from Boating Safety's logbook. Who actually writes in this logbook?
Lieutenant Kaipat, yo ye hala isilong meta auto logbook yel ngare tilihi hala musui meta bote al ferry.
Isule yo ye si mekan namo yo merel boarding ngare resito wal bot makaralo tu rahalo isi.
Okay, I don't know who is responsible in entering this logbook, but I know sometimes whoever is there will do the entry.
So it's boating safety officers who write into this logbook, correct?
Well, I mean, that's a question.
Can you repeat?
So it's boating safety officers then who write into this logbook, is that correct?
Kaya real logbook yel ye hala atol ngay autol. Watakal palwali bu sugule malera galo imila atol ngay. Sabila ya mo awewe.
Or
Yes, it's not sure who's doing the entry.
But is it boating safety officers?
Yeah, whoever the officer then is responsible in entering the logbook.
So for the record, the witness said that boating safety officers make entries into the logbook. Is that what he said?
Yes.
Recognize counsel.
Chair. Just a preliminary matter. So it looks like some of the translations aren't translated exactly correct. For example, he didn't necessarily say that. He said the people that don't go out are the ones that are doing the logbooks. So there's this issue of this subtle translation issue. I guess the best way for me to address it is to request that I have the opportunity to review the translations later to make sure there's no errors.
That can be afforded to you. However, too, in what Mr. Ilamato is doing is he is interpreting, and there can be no literal translations of these questions because you will lose context.
Yes, Chair, I understand, and I understand that it's more like the ones like I don't know versus I don't remember, or whoever didn't go versus
We can make
something else.
clarifications later, and also I would ask that members, when you ask your questions, break it down so that the translator or interpreter has the opportunity to digest the questions as well as the answers from the witness.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You may proceed, Rep. Tina.
Thank you, Chair. Lieutenant Kaipat, are boating safety officers required to call in their activities when they go out to sea on DPS boats?
Lieutenant Kaipat, meta official ka require lir mero nisita rubo fafai real meta ferry real ero set me DPS port kar kaya.
or
Yes.
Thank you. And they radio this in? They call it in by radio?
Refafai long la radio.
Your radio para fa telephone.
cell phone.
Okay.
Okay. They call in
Okay.
radio or via telephone.
Okay. Thank you. And then someone at boating safety in the office records it in the logbook. Is that correct?
Ayor malila office mila isililong la logbook kal meta karhal ferry meleset.
Oh,
Okay, yes.
Thank you. And then would boating safety officers record when they have interactions with other vessels out at sea?
Officer kal rel boarding safety. Rubali jilong ngerayor fera de botol gubernore asusu meleset. Angersab.
rabo makaralo wal bot mlir hala yusor metamu malwa kloro la question.
Okay, irabwe yo ye ne ye hala tolonge ngere re asusu me yo bot fera de botol gubernor.
Um,
You hala sislong la logbook.
Can you translate first in English? Excuse me, Mr. Kaipan. Can you translate what he replied to first? Can you repeat your answer?
Harap sa ko makaralo wal bot mlir hala isitiu.
Are you saying that those officer boarding safety officer on the boat did the recording in the logbook?
no, I'm asking when boating safety officers go out to sea and they have, do they report when they have interactions with other vessels when they're out at sea?
Gera lo leset, gera susu meyo wa. Irmiler halishilong meta actividad ngera meta ka referi meleset. Padre kita ala sa winama meta ras. Sor meta entry.
Ayor hangar muli hitaw. Ngesor sumale be telepon pad meta. Sa kiras fellong. Ay ble angalir ya meta ay fer.
Okay, if in an event that it's far from them, then they waited until they come ashore, and then that's the time they enter the logbook.
Okay. Enter into the logbook that they spotted or interacted with a vessel.
Yes.
Please translate that part.
Can you translate?
Pues ngere awa tolong ngilal kilal malabo atolong ngela logbook. Sable sa tasang awa tolong la logbook.
Ngaray hal sa fellong nge makaralo wal faliw. Mlir hala ngara why responded distress. Ngay sa fellong. Makaralo wal faliw mlir hal ferry report. Logbook mimi.
Okay. When they return from the distress call for help assistance, then the officer on land will be the person that enter in the logbook.
Okay. And then would boating safety officers report if they see fish out at sea?
Boarding safety officers can officer karelo ngara warwari reportli ngara reportli.
Maling rai luso en lusteng euri malebel pode los fasila suring el falsetto.
If the fish jump up and we see, then we report.
Would
But
they?
how can I report when I don't see?
Okay, but would they be required to report seeing a fish or any other animal out at sea to call that in for the logbook?
Meta de bisa ko wo reporter meta usung mileset ngara yik ngara meta. No.
Okay, thank you. So most likely, Lieutenant Kaipat, the entry in Exhibit 46, which you see in front of you on the screen, noting a 17-footer was a boat, correct?
Iwe real mille komala bala wewe 17 footer. Emwalo bukulei where sab. Meta ye 17 footer.
Mo 17 footer nge sam ngam li sui ni sebal hole meta na 17 footer.
Ngasabal wakke mo milura. Okay, I don't because
I'm sorry. Could you
I
repeat
don't
that?
know because I'm not involved in that
Mhm.
logging in.
But it was most likely not a 17-foot fish or cow. Is that correct?
Ngeletal busuri wakke me gere meta 7 footer kawa where I am.
Sam ngam mo sui mille isi hole meta mo na 17 footer.
I'm not the one that wrote it, and I don't know what's that 17 footer.
Does
You
DPS
ask.
have eddy boats that are 17 footers?
DPS orar bot, yeah, 17 footer. Sherla palmela,
Ayor bot it hit ni isi hole to footer.
DPS has, but it's not sure whether it's 17 footer.
How big is the jet boat?
How big is the jet boat?
Okay, if I said, Sherla pala,
Jet boat.
Z boat.
Ilan mille hit na wam bot ni isi hole isi suru to footer.
That's the smallest boat, and I don't know how little or the length of the boat.
You don't know the dimensions.
Yeah.
Okay. Are other government boats sometimes used to transport or escort the governor when he goes out to sea?
Eyor bala kawa war governo ngara botol governo yor kaya for West currently governor.
Ila mo isi hole.
That's the one I don't know.
What about the Kurita?
The Karida sar gorong goruri.
Sa isi hole ko yor habitat tawal mela.
I don't know.
Iwe saka your rural Facebook.
The only time I saw Karida is in the Facebook.
You've never seen the Kurita, the boat, at the DPS boating safety?
Sar
Okay.
goruri merele boarding safety boat land.
Hawar.
Yes, I saw it.
Okay, so you have seen it, other than on Facebook. And as far as you know, is the Kurita sometimes used to escort or transport the governor when he goes out to sea?
Real hule am yorka hule Karida ria here transport li governor here mu governor governor fellow.
Milang isi hole wa esa bala sign tore man.
That one I don't know because it's assigned to us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But for the times when you have escorted the governor on DPS boats, have you ever seen any other government boat joining this escort of the governor?
Atolo ka au suma governor sar o bote hule escort li governor.
Isi mangi.
I don't remember.
Okay. Thank you. I yielded this line of questioning, Chair, before we move into the next exhibits, if other members have questions.
Thank you. I do. Officer Kaipat, does boating safety have a McKee craft vessel or boat?
Officer Kaipad yorka hule mil makina what welo boarding safety.
Hal kapas ihila pada ihua.
Your question is for now or before?
at any time since you've been assigned to boating safety?
Inamuleta you're assigned look boarding safety.
Over.
Yes.
Where is the Maki vessel today?
Eloya maki bote maki kila.
Isuri amatulay jaba na hibugi ya isuri.
I don't know where it went, but it's really a long time that I don't see it.
Fair enough. Also, Officer Kaipat, I asked a question before we broke for recess, for the lunch recess. I asked about A14. Is A14 on your logbooks? There appears to be some kind of reference to an A14. Is A14 one of the buildings at the lower Miha in Garpa?
Meta mile A14 nga wim miha.
Ayor mele A14.
Yes, there is A14 building.
Thank you. Also, how long have you been operating boats for boating safety?
Afito lele ama yali ngangi rel boarding safety ubo operate li boat ka.
Sih melu ya lo boarding safety. Ni si hule after besapal ngang rah melihat peredai bot.
It's already 13 years, but I don't know exactly because I'm not the only one operating the boat.
Thank you. I was just asking to your experience. How long have you been operating boats for boating safety?
Kay kiki afito ra lo experience lo akala butulong Maria bot ka ngare. Ya jangan ya fur bot. Zaim la yeglar kay ko.
Ilan ni kira bisu hule bo sih me elu ni orang si drive bot klan lalu sabo bal every week ay bahal to.
Okay, I know that it's already 13 years, but not every now and then I drive the boat.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
As an operator of any boat, most especially boating safety, aren't you required to know the length of the vessel you're operating?
Ngere uhal manayang ngere operate li wakal. Well, yung mga Yorka.
As an operator of any boat, aren't you required to know the length or the
Okay.
of your boat of the boat you're operating?
Meta kail kala preda wakal. Hulay pito lelail. Ngere gross tunnel wail.
Tiba we far confused lo boy. Matamu kera.
Rekaya ngere hulay lelail. Vodka ukangangwal. Ngere operator.
Malu palahi or koi hule faisal lalel bot alangal bot wala rel boarding.
Sabal ngal bot ikirawe rail safety. Rail bukule ngere bule tolong bule tangangwal. Usab bukule lelail ngere gross tunnel. Meta ka requirement bukule.
Mr. Ilamito, can you translate so I can understand?
No,
I
it's,
asked, aren't you, as someone who operates boats, aren't you required to know the length of your boat? And then he replied,
he's saying that I don't know because
can you repeat your answer, sir?
Saiblan Mura Usukule,
Ay, hiyo ko ya buki yang lady ko alangal bot de bi pulay.
Sabalangal Bot.
Can you translate, Mr. Ilamito?
He's asking me whether I asked him whether all the boats, is it required for him to know the length?
No, I'm not asking whether you're required to know the lengths of all the boats at boating safety. When you take a vessel out, when you operate a vessel, aren't you required to know the length of that vessel that you are operating?
E kai hiu ngare ubule apredai wawe te biru bukule lelail
Hui tolong bon safety nga sa balang lebon sita bu hulay alele yal bot nga rebut tatawal. Ui bapre.
when I joined the boarding safety, then tell me how the length, what's the length of the vessel or the boat.
Okay, we will move on. I will recognize Representative Tina Sablon.
Thank you, Chair. At this time, I'd like to, we'll ask a few initial questions before we move into the other exhibits that I'll be submitting today. So is our translator ready?
Yes.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Lieutenant Kaipat, do you give the orders to boating safety officers to escort the governor on DPS boats?
Officer Kaipa dungale ayo falar we mangiga wa prelinga umo governo e milu falar metarofer.
Ayorka.
Sometimes I do that.
Okay. And who gives you these orders at DPS?
Yung alyo ko anganglan ngare order la ubo fer
Moxie.
my supervisors.
And who are those?
Yola
Chief Kevin Nodon.
ke chief ke radan.
Have you ever been instructed by the commissioner to escort the governor on DPS boats?
Ayorka commissioner ye directly ngare angalyo meto fer where was currently governor.
Awar.
Yes.
Thank you. And have you ever been instructed or requested by the governor to provide escort or personal security services on DPS boats?
Yorka governo e angalo was currently. No.
Thank you. And could you explain why are DPS search and rescue boats provided for the governor when he is going on personal trips for fishing or recreation?
Metabulol DPS ebo isisuo wa ngarabot. Mabumo governo ka bula very metayal personal ngare yala sa wamlal governo. Mille wa fera wala bot.
Ihalas saling aramit tamaha saling liya.
I'm just listening to what my supervisor directed me to do.
Okay. So who makes the decision to provide the search and rescue boats for the governor?
Yo ye egal decidi meta escorrer governo. Iyo.
Ule barrade pue Moxie mle halang liya. Ito Kevin Nodon.
I
Kim
want
le halang liya.
okay. I want to repeat again that is my supervisor.
Okay, thank you. So this time, Madam Chair and colleagues, I'd like to submit a total of 3 vessel usage reports, which were part of the document submitted by Lieutenant Kaipat pursuant to the subpoena duces tecum. And I'd like to begin with the vessel usage report dated April 28th, 2019. And this will be Exhibit 47. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Cam and Council. So, Chair and colleagues, according to this vessel usage report, on April 28, 2019, at least 5 DPS officers, including Lieutenant Emery Kaipat, went out on the DPS jet boat for the purpose of shadowing 201. There is no other purpose indicated and no destination. The report indicates that 80 gallons of fuel were consumed during this trip. I'd like to now direct my questions to the witness, if I may proceed.
You may.
Lieutenant Kaipat, do you have the April 28, 2019 vessel usage report in front of you?
Lieutenant Kaipan nga regular report ye. Refer wala April wala real 2019.
Over.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And were you a member of the DPS boating safety crew on this trip?
Ubalo nga remember nga falangang lo biaya refer trip year. Awar nga sap.
Yeah, malistu we yellow.
Yeah, it's written that I'm there.
Is that a yes, Lieutenant Kaipat? Is that a yes?
Yes, that's a yes. Sorry.
Please ask the witness that. Is that a yes?
Oh, but awar milan nga sap. Kawra yusiti witang.
Officer Kaipa, would you please answer? Is that a yes?
Over.
Yes.
Thank you. And Lieutenant Kaipat, what was your role on this trip?
Meta di pusi amangang lalo 3PL nga angangi ufir wall boat.
Yeah, istu we langel be shadow.
It's written above the document that is shallow.
Okay, thank you. And could we just scroll up a little bit more? So the purpose for vessel usage, Shadow 201. What does Shadow 201 mean, Lieutenant Kaipat?
Meta ye shadow 201. Meta fal.
PSD Lee Governor.
El.
PSD Governor.
Said USD T Governor. Kailangan mo Palawan?
Ah,
Yes, that's my response.
PSD Governor.
Yeah.
And just so we're clear, PSD stands for what?
Meta ye fal PRD ng Metal R SB
Protective Service Detail.
to service detail.
Protective Service Detail.
Yeah,
Is that
protective.
okay?
service detail.
Okay, so PSD, Protective Service Detail for the governor. And who was the boat captain on this trip?
Yoye kapitana lala waya fer angangia walbot.
Ye still have the PO1 Arno Seman Jr.
It's written is Arnold Semen Jr.
Thank you. And was Governor Ralph Torres on the DPS boat during this trip?
Meta governo lala ye ura ona kapitan. Meta governo fer.
Mataura?
Ira meta ripsia la angang governo. Ngara with the training ya kami ngar meta ya langang. Rualo waya etabukmi.
Objection, Chair. It looks like he's not translating your questions literally. He's adding his own questions to this. What he just said was
What exactly is your objection to his translation?
he's
Interpretation?
misstating the question.
Okay, stand back.
Yes.
Number 6.
I can repeat.
Nere governo Ralph Torres. Elo walo wael ikaw utabwe.
Isimingi Kolo Walwair Mahamwe.
I don't remember where he was on because it's a long time.
Okay. If the vessel usage report says that the governor is being shadowed, does that mean that he's on another boat?
Real mille ra governo elo wala shadow 201. Ewa lo governo wal nga reo bot mika elo iwan.
Embala Blowal yo boat. Embala Palawal boat.
He can be on another boat and he can be on this boat. That is.
Okay, so sometimes you have seen the governor on another boat, and sometimes you've seen him on the DPS boat. Is that correct?
Ewal mille iwa irawa ayorka uri governo reo bot. Yorka wal uri wal bot yolo wal. Ewal milla ang erasab.
Ah,
Correct.
Thank you. And for this trip, where did you escort the governor to?
Real biaya oferi. Yega escortli governo.
Isimingi where she still have.
I don't remember because it's not written here.
And why would there be no destination written here?
La meta fale sabor ay hugulungare. Yega watolong ya destination.
Isukle Bosapal ng Lishimina.
I don't know because I'm not the one that prepared this document.
Is it possible that this boat just went out into the open water and did not land anywhere?
Meta mula waye la butosa ni sarga la yula ye. Angresa.
Reto sang Lafar out of gas.
It goes and it will be out of gas, no fuel to continue.
I guess my question, I can
Counsel, would you please ask the witness to answer the question directly? He was talking about it out of gas.
yeah, so the question,
So, yeah, restate your question.
sure. Is it possible that this boat just went out into the open water and did not actually land anywhere. There was no destination.
Emal si awaway waye la towo nge esarga la yila ye. Af ngeresa.
So malibu isi hule bo kahamay.
I cannot answer that because it's a long time.
So you don't remember?
I don't remember.
Was the governor conducting any official government business during this trip?
Meta gobernador que
Objection, sorry, that misstates the testimony. He said, I don't know, not I don't remember.
Come again, counsel?
He said, I don't know, not I don't remember.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
meta ura usugule ngerusum mengi.
Ya malihula matawir.
I forgot what you said.
The question is, was the governor conducting any official government business during this trip?
Ayer ngere ke ayu ngere ayor meta gobernador e que feru buela we tar angangal gobernador. Ka ulo walwa.
Isi mangi.
I don't remember.
Was this a personal fishing trip for the governor?
Repeat, please.
Was this a personal fishing trip for the governor?
Tripel nge yalo gobernador personal trip. Ang ngeresa.
Isi mangi bo isi istiuhal.
I don't remember because it's not written here on the document.
And have you ever escorted the governor on any personal fishing trips using the DPS boat?
Please repeat again.
Have you ever escorted the governor on any personal fishing trips using the DPS boat?
If I say wo si wa we personal trip nga ruhal escort the governor. Ayor personal trip you fair? The governor?
Osar.
Nothing.
What does that mean?
No personal trip with the governor.
No personal trips.
Objection, that's a mistranslation. It means nothing.
May I ask the question again?
Sure.
So one more time, Lieutenant Kaipat. Have you ever escorted the governor on any personal fishing trips using a DPS boat?
Ayor ho escort the governor. Yeah, okay, I both to DPS, boarding safety. No.
Are you aware of any other DPS boating safety officers escorting the governor on personal fishing trips using the DPS boat?
Ayor kuleyom ka governor ya both to DPS, bro escortly.
Awar you remove YouTube.
Yes, seen it YouTube.
Okay, thank you. And what kind of fuel does the DPS jet boat use?
Meta suragas and meta at fuel bottle DPS jet boat
Gas.
gasoline.
Okay. And for this trip, why were 5 DPS officers needed for this escort for the governor?
Rail trip ya gobernador fermeta limal officer dolo boarding safety rail.
Isi mangi.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Okay. I yield at this time for this exhibit, Madam Chair, if other members have questions.
Thank you. Do any members have any other questions? If not, we will take a 15-minute recess. Nobody? Recess. Good afternoon and welcome back. Welcome back, Mr. Kaipad and Attorney Anthony Agan. I'd like to remind the witness that you are still under oath. At this time, I would like to recognize Representative Ed Probst.
Thank you, Chair, and this is just for some clarifying questions from previous testimony from Lieutenant Kaipat. Good afternoon, Lieutenant Kaipat. Thank you again for being here today. We appreciate your time. I did want to ask you, I guess my first question, have you ever provided personal security detail to the governor on any fishing trips? Just a reminder that you are, of course, under oath. I'm sorry, Chair.
Mr. Lamato?
Yes. Rekaihiu ngere Yorka umu governo rel milevo ferial TSP. El matapra TSP?
PSD.
PSD. Sorry. Malwal Ramilal, el matapra del
Awar.
governo.
Awar.
Angarasa.
Ah,
Yes.
Thank you. And also, you had mentioned earlier that you saw the governor fishing on YouTube. Could you explain that?
Wala irat ka huasi del takla uri governor wakaleset wal YouTube. Amalubo awa wala mas mila.
yaru YouTube ni uri ni mahal leset walbot.
I watched the YouTube and I saw him fishing.
Follow-up question. Was that for the Deer Meat for Dinner, Rob Arrington trip?
Metamila la senawaya la Ralph Arrington. Ila mila uri wal YouTube.
Ah,
Yes.
Thank you. What islands have you escorted the governor to?
Ifa tölfa lula Maria is Northern Ireland su Escorted governo. Yun. Wala boti yung operada.
asar ka ngam libu opera bot. Bibes korli governor.
There's no record that I am the one to escort the governor.
But you have been PSD on many trips for the governor, correct?
Low your record wa aso how yadimile PSD pero was escort the governor. Well milang rasa.
Awar.
Yes.
Have you escorted him to Anatahan?
Yorka Westcordling umu governor la anatahan wala bot kung au katawe. Angarsa.
Ah,
Yes.
Yes. Gugwan?
Guguan ubalolol.
isimangi.
I don't remember.
Pagan?
Yeah, pagang. Sir,
Isamangi ko escortli.
I don't remember that I escorted the governor.
How about to Rhoda?
Galuta.
Awar.
Yes.
Goat Island?
Goat Island, yeah. Arol Trillial.
Awal.
Yes.
Are some of these hunting trips?
Meta malalawo leset fitel real biaye ya umu governo. Angeresa.
Objection, Your Honor. I think there, Your Honor, excuse me. Objection, Chairwoman. I believe there's a mistranslation. He's talking about fishing trips when the congressman was asking about hunting
Hunting
trips.
trips, yes. So I'll repeat the question. Have you ever escorted the governor on any of these trips? Sorry, let me start again. Let me rephrase that. Have you escorted the governor on any hunting trips?
Yorka wal escortly governor real milewu hunting meta you leset wal fallo. Gereya.
Isi mangi boy your high school linga mala hunting. Leset siya.
I don't remember escorting the governor for hunting.
Okay.
Only fishing.
Only
trip.
fishing. Have you ever escorted the governor to Fairlawn de Medellín, FDM?
Yorka escortly governor real Perlon Mandaniza.
Rahe.
No.
Okay. Lieutenant Kaipet, I want to thank you and recognize you for 28 years of service. That is a long and lengthy service, sir. And so I thank you. I salute you for that. And also 13 years of boating safety. I do understand from your colleagues who have told me that you have received numerous certifications and other things. So I do want to commend you again for your service. I would like to ask you, have in your 13 years with boating safety, have you escorted other governors before Governor Torres?
Lola mga say me lura. Lol boarding safety Yorka. Akasha governor sa governor Torres West Cordlier. Angersa.
Isi mangi.
I don't remember.
When you were starting at boating safety, who was the governor at that time? Do you remember?
Ika wala tayo mga real boarding safety yo governor. Torla.
Isi mangi maham.
I don't remember.
Did you ever escort Governor Fitiol on any boating trips to any island?
Yorka escortly former governor Fitiao.
No, Fitiol.
Fitiao.
I'm sorry.
Fitiao lal real ngang mo yan. Angersa.
Isi mangi mo.
I don't remember.
Have you ever escorted Governor Enos on any trips to any islands?
Yorka escortly governor former governor Inus. Lol yung boarding safety. Angang.
Isi mangi.
I don't remember.
One more question. Have you ever escorted any other boat besides the governor's boat to
Yorka
an
is
island?
To an island.
To any island.
okay. Yorka escortly a keo boat. Ngali yo falo. Ngari falo. Angersa.
Ngaresa ka pala school linga man. Lalsa.
El wal repeat the metal of West Cordley long.
Ngaresa governor milihal.
Only governor is there.
Only the governor.
Yeah, he was Gordon.
Okay, I yield at this time. Thank you, Lieutenant, and thank you, Chair and colleagues.
Thank you, Representative Probst. At this time, I would like to recognize Representative Tina Sablon.
Thank you, Chair. Our next exhibit is a vessel usage report dated July 2nd, 2019. I can please request Cam and Council to put that up on the screen. And this will be exhibit 48. Thank you. So, Chair and colleagues, I'd like to first note that we are submitting today really just a sampling of numerous DPS boating escorts provided on DPS boats with DPS personnel for Governor Torres over the past 5 years. In the case of this vessel usage report dated July 2nd, 2019, at least 3 DPS officers, including Lieutenant Emery Kaipat, went out on the DPS impact boat for the purpose of PSD 201 and First Lady. There is no other purpose indicated and no destination. The report indicates that 500 gallons of fuel were used. I'd like to direct my questions now to the witness, Madam Chair.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Lieutenant Kaipat, do you have the vessel usage report of July 2nd, 2019 in front of you?
Lieutenant Kaipat, hello, trip report here, well, July 2nd.
Or,
Yes, I have.
Thank you. And were you a member of the DPS boating safety crew on this trip?
I'm enrolled DPS boating safety. Atelier, ura
there is
Yes.
still high.
I'm sorry.
Objection that
Yes.
translation is incomplete.
Yeah, could we ask the translator to complete the translation?
He said that, yes, he was part of the team at that
Thank
particular
you.
time.
And who was or what was your role?
Objection, Chairwoman. He said yes, as it is written on the paper.
Very well.
May I proceed?
You may.
Thank you. And Lieutenant Kaipat, what was your role on this trip?
Lieutenant Kaipat meta yung mga ang trip yan.
There is still all papidel bangang crew.
It's written in the paper that he's a crew.
Thank you. And who was the boat captain on this trip?
Yo ye kapitan el free PL.
PO3 Kui Rogopes.
Thank you. So that's Police Officer 3, Kui Rogopes, correct? Mr. or Lieutenant Kaipat?
That's the correct one here.
Can we ask the
Mita
translator?
wal mila, hila officer la. Lal trip ye.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Thank
the officer.
Thank you. And what does PSD 201 and First Lady mean on this report?
Mita ye PSD 201, the First Lady. Mita well mila, a report here.
Hindi nga Escorted Governor and First Lady.
This is this is the escort trip, First Lady and the Governor.
Thank you. And was Governor Torres actually on the DPS boat on this trip?
Meta lo Raf Torres Governor Yash, Walawaye, Garabotie, Otawe, mi trip.
Isa mangi ba sa balistiuhan.
I don't remember because it's not written here on the document.
Okay. And was Mrs. Diane Torres actually on the DPS boat during this trip?
Lola Atelier Tabalal Botiel, First Lady Diane Lo, Resalo.
Isa ba mangi ba si still all papidel.
I don't remember, it's not written on the document.
Have you ever escorted the First Lady on any other boating trips?
Yorka wal escorted First Lady. Yami angang boarding safety. Ang rasa.
Sita pipi kefir na vesu se sube sumalura bisi man.
I cannot respond because it's not clear, and I need to look at our documents for clarity.
Well, the question is really just for your own experience as the boating safety and PSD. So the question is, have you ever escorted the First Lady on any boating trips?
Yorka wal escorted First Lady. Ang rasa.
Isi mangi.
I don't remember.
Okay. And what was Governor Torres's purpose in going out on this trip with DPS boats and personnel?
Mita yalangang gobierno raftors lalo tripi aufiri ngare ya manganglon wire ngarabuti.
Isi mangi bas balus tuhan.
I don't remember because it's not written here.
Okay. And what time did the DPS boat leave?
Ora meta sigurai to se fela to botel landing iragaragal Americano.
Is tuhan be mille time recovery nge lal hasafel or antis jorail.
Eng well record kira land launching il me landing recovery yel me away. Can you can you clarify whether what is written in the document is correct? Is that the question?
I'm asking the witness to explain from this report, what time did the boat actually leave or launch, I guess, based on this report?
Kay huglit atol kayam relance liwanger farawa yen ayagir kay
7:35.
7:35.
And that's 7:35 in the morning, correct?
Lesor milel lelos
Lesor.
morning.
Thank you. And what time did it return?
Or metas fell.
Isi mangi bas is tuhan.
I don't remember because it's not written on this document.
So what does time of recovery mean in this report?
Metaye atol rora the time of recovery. Yamalwawe.
Ngara atali tu bot ay abuhi alagasli. Taka asfeli long nal skill lal bay.
He's saying that that's the time that they wash the boat down and clean it and then put the gas on.
Okay, and what time was that?
Or metamila.
21:56 ay skill bot.
21:56 is an afternoon, yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
21:56.
21:56. So that is 9:56
Yes.
p.m. Correct?
In that evening, yeah.
Just for the record, 9:56 p.m. Correct, Lieutenant
Yes.
Kaipat? Please try.
Well, midnight 9:56 p.m. Lebong. On reserve.
Or
Yes.
Okay. And so the total length of time for this trip was how long?
Sigura 3 years ang ifitolela ilora atol. Ya ulang asfal.
is tuhan be 8 hours al fatabot ay engine mak.
It is written 8 hours.
So based on this report, the engine was actually running for 8 hours. Is that correct?
Ewo go engineer ke fara sala walugora. Makinal bot.
Wabuistu.
Yes, because it's written.
Okay. And 500 gallons of fuel were used during this trip. Is that correct?
Ewol mille lima buku galonol gas reayer botel. Angresa.
Still had 500.
It's written 500.
Okay. And what kind of fuel does the impact boat use?
Ngamit sigura gas reayer ngarimpak. Yeah, ferry. From Atolia o ferry. 3PL.
Gas.
While failure.
Botel ni halusay gas.
The boat is using gasoline.
Okay. Thank you. And Lieutenant Kaipat, where did this boat go?
E kai hu yega wa yele mutlaye.
Isimangi boy si still had.
I don't remember, it's not written here.
Okay. What was the destination?
Meta tol kabula ilaye wire.
Isimangi.
I don't remember.
If no destination is provided in this vessel usage report, does that mean that there was no landing before this boat returned to Saipan?
Mere SR report is to landing. Eka we report del wasar ga ilaye botel. Ito nga dia la force.
Malbala repeat you.
Botene e voletal to.
Let Tina repeat her question.
Oh, Tina, can you repeat the question? That's
Yes, I'm happy to repeat.
that's his question.
Yes, thank you. Lieutenant Kaipat, if no destination is provided in this vessel usage report, does that mean that there was no landing before this boat returned to Saipan?
Kangos mo man Tina kayang resar ikabula yulaye. Botel ito wasa galapos ngere yor gala yulaye ngere se felto ya.
Isimangi boy si still had.
I don't remember because it's not written here.
Okay. And were there any other passengers on this trip?
Yor kaya sola tabula fripie botel fere di official ka Australia.
Isimangi.
I don't remember.
If there were other passengers, should they have been recorded on this trip? Or on this report, I'm sorry. Let me repeat. If there were other passengers, should they have been recorded in this report?
Ngere yor akere pasiero ngere maska efitigime. Esabur la report bulakli yor maska.
Awal hala the revelation nga rabali rakesa mo bo si still rakan.
Yes, and they will write in it in the logbook.
Thank you. And for this exhibit, I yield at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Do the other members have any questions? Recognize Representative Richard Lizama.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And thank you, Lieutenant Kaipat, for cooperating so far. And welcome, Mr. Councilman. Just a clarifying question here. The usage, the vessel usage report, does everyone on the boat ever receive training on how to fill this form?
Recognize Mr. Lamato.
Okay, Congressman Kaya, Congressman Lizama, your training refer real ngarushe daramas walbot.
Will the witness answer?
Objection, Chairwoman. I think there's a mistranslation. Can we get the translation one more time?
Representative Lazama, can you please ask your question again?
Once again, Lieutenant Kaipat, does everyone at the boating safety receive training on how to fill up the form vessel usage report?
Okay, Congressman Lizama Kaya, alanger pasero ngaramas karalo rotato alwa. Your training ruba abong your faisal fill out the form. Young person.
Hala bungiro lo sapal training. Buat ni sa faisal rawu isi.
Elwal repeat metawara.
Hala buat ni sa faisal rawu isi. Sap training.
Okay, they just show them how to fill out the application, but not training, actual training like workshop.
So, Lieutenant Kaipat, you understood the questions that the form has asked for you to fill up, correct?
Repeat.
As the boat captain or lieutenant been trained or receive what do you call it? Receive any kind of information on how to fill up this form, so he's fully aware of the proper procedures of this form. Correct?
Representative Lazama, I will ask you to break down your question so it's easier to interpret.
Okay, let me hold back and I'll come back with that now. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Any other members? If not, Representative Tina, I will recognize Representative Tina Sablan at this time.
Thank you, Chair. So our third and the last exhibit I'll be submitting for today is a vehicle usage report dated August 6, 2020. And Chair and colleagues, according to this report, on August 6, 2020, 3 DPS officers went out on the DPS impact boat, including a Lieutenant E. Kaipat, for the purpose of PSD 201 to ROP. There is no other purpose indicated, and 250 gallons of fuel were used for this trip. I'd like to direct my questions to the witness now.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Lieutenant Kaipat, do you have the August 6, 2020 vehicle usage report in front of you?
Lieutenant Kaipat, hello, RAM report August 6, 2020.
Ah,
Yes.
Thank you. And were you a member of the DPS boating safety crew on this trip?
El membrol DPS boarding safety rel kaangangol bot le tripia ufere au ferry.
awar.
Yes.
Thank you. And what was your role on this trip?
Metayamo angang rel tripia.
Crew.
I was a crew or is a crew.
Thank you. And what does PSD 201 to ROP mean in this report?
Meta ngere file me le PSD 201 me ROP. Meta file.
Escorted to Governor Luta.
It means to escort the governor to Rota.
Thank you. And what was the purpose of this trip to Rota?
Meta angangal melo mutiu ko benna luta.
Si mangilo ba si istiuhan?
I don't remember anymore because it's not written on here.
And you don't remember, do you remember this August 6, 2020 trip to Rhoda?
Umangi trip year August 6, 2020 naliluta. No, I don't remember.
Do you know how long you were on Rhoda on this trip?
Isugala ifto lalayam emilo.
Hello, you still had the todos of operation was 6. Or 6 hours, like something.
What is written here is as though it's 6 hours.
Right. 6.83 hours from what I'm reading in this report. So what time, based according to this report, did the boat actually launch to Rhoda, Lieutenant Kaipak?
Orameta had botel kula luta.
11:08.
11:08.
In the morning?
Lesor lebong.
Malilesor.
Maybe in the morning.
Maybe in the morning? And what time did the boat return?
Orameta botas fell.
I still had 1758. Ok. Es balisto.
Oh, it's not written in. What time?
Okay, and so the time of recovery, what time do you see there?
1750.
Okay, 1758. So that's 5:58 for the time of recovery. And total hours of operation was 6.83 hours. Could you explain what is the difference between total hours of operation and hours of engine run?
Mulu bawawe meta faz military hours operation. Siguro ka wahik magutugot me meta ye atol balance ngareba lo wal fali.
Balyo.
Rekai hu sigura
Can you repeat
I-
your question,
Yeah,
Tina?
the question is, what is the difference between total hours of operation and hours of engine run?
meta differential military hours operation me time of launching o atol ka relance liwa me what.
Chairwoman, I think that's misstating the question, translating the question. May I recommend just asking which each is, and he could maybe explain it.
Officer Kaipat, what is the difference between engine run and hours of
Botek ka mangutugot me atol ka operate wa ngare. Utafrel mina.
And
Objection, Chair. I think the translator is just misstating the two you want to compare. He's saying, he's saying boat run, not engine run specifically. So he's mistranslating the question.
engine run? What difference? Engine run and hours of operation.
Okay. Atol ka makina. Eka mangutugot me differential real milit napal ora ye operate liwa. Meta differential meruo.
mandal mille mandal tahu todo operation man was sabu on makina. In
Can you break that down, Officer Kaipat?
Can we translate what he just said first?
Okay. What he's saying is defining the total hours of operation. It could be that the boat is not operating or it's not in operation
Or that the engine is not running?
or the engine is not running yet. Because operation in terms of the total hours, that's the question, the big issue. Total hours
Um,
of operation.
One moment,
And
Mr.
we're trying to
Lamata.
define the difference between time launching and total hours of operation.
No,
That's
no.
the question was, what is the difference between total hours of operation and total engine run?
okay. Kaya ay fito oral. Ika me oral operation. Ay go.
Chair, and he mistranslated the answer as well. He said that the total hours of operation doesn't have to include the amount of, or doesn't include the amount of time that the engine is running. So the total hours of operation,
Short recess.
yes.
Did you understand that?
um,
Because the engine's not running.
Officer Kaipa, would you please explain the difference between and total engine? Please restate your answer.
Officer Kaipat. El awawe differential. El mid kamakina ke makutukot. Me mid total hours ngere lapal ora ye operate liwa. Wara we okay. Ako lami lang work kam larbo ay differential.
Todo hours of operation nila yung trabajo.
The total hours refer to your work.
total hours of work.
Yeah, total hours.
And so this may not be the total hours that the engine was actually running. Is that correct?
Nguata kala kloro basa buka in makina ke fatta bu. Ya saka ya mut angang.
Ang manem ki operation sa kayo hamle park libot sa makina.
Yeah, he's saying that the boat might not, the engine might not be running.
Okay. Thank you. Was Governor Torres actually on the DPS boat going to Rhoda? Yes or no?
Rakayak of sa kaipan nga gobierno ilawal waye ka motoral buta.
Isimengi bo si istiwala apidia.
I don't remember because it's not written on this document.
Okay. And was Governor Torres actually on the DPS boat returning back to Saipan from Rhoda? Yes or no?
Kaya nga gobierno ilawal wa DPS ka asifal wa to saipel. Ang rasa
Isabal mangi bo si istiwala apidia.
I don't remember because it's not written on this document.
What cargo was taken to Rhoda on this trip?
Beta kara ferry lol. Yeah, me ferra.
Isimengi.
I don't remember.
Do you ever check the cargo on any of these boating safety trips?
Yorka ugal amuri meta karga kau buhilal really me boarding safety fair. No.
Who
never
does
saw.
check the cargo?
Yo ye kala muri kadaka ngara karga kau halbuki.
Sule sarhay balo pipi metanakara.
I don't know because no one is doing that. I never saw it.
Is it
That's really what he's saying.
so? To be clear, nobody checks the cargo on DPS boats.
Ewal kaya congresswoman ngare sarja mele kala muri karga kau kubuki walwa ngara botie.
Isule koyor karha wal botel. Besi isimangi amo.
I don't remember if any cargo is on the boat because it's been a long time.
The question is more general. Does anybody check the cargo on DPS boats?
Ayor lal waka ngar bot ka DPS rakala muri me cheki me tautal karga ka.
Isule koyor harda becheki lo sarhay buri.
I don't know because I never saw somebody checking.
Have you ever seen any alcohol on DPS boats?
Objection, that mistranslates his statement.
Officer Kaipa, can you repeat the last answer?
He
So we
said,
can
I
have
don't
it
know,
translated.
I don't know if they have been checked, but I have not seen them checked.
I would like to have Officer Kaipa please restate his last answer.
Ngalura piti mulura.
Sure,
He's asking the question to be repeated.
sure. Are you saying that nobody checks the cargo on DPS boats?
E kai hu congresswoman ngare e sarra mele kamuri ami karga walwaye bottle DPS boarding safety.
Isule koyor harda becheki lo sarhay buri.
I don't know because if they ever check and I don't see anyone doing that.
Okay. Was any
Objection, that mistranslates his testimony. He's saying he doesn't know if the cargo is being checked, but he's never seen it.
Okay, let's move on.
Move on.
Okay. Was any alcohol on this boat on this trip?
Ayora kohod kar wal booking ar karga lal tripia ferry both DPS boarding.
Isimangi besbalisti ha.
I don't remember because it's not written here.
And have you ever seen any alcohol being transported on a DPS boat?
Yaur kauri ber karga li al kohod wal waka DPS boarding safety. No.
Did the governor conduct any official business on Rhoda during this trip?
Real tripia ferry ngar gobenno ayora metana business ye ferry. Real how buhi tripia official business.
Isule.
I don't know.
Were you aware of any political campaign activities happening on Rhoda during this trip?
Umengi ayor milo ringar ugulay rayora politica la tripia ferry. No.
I yield at this time on this exhibit, Madam Chair, and I do have a few more general questions after this exhibit if other members have questions.
Thank you. Do the other members have any questions? If not, Officer Kaipet, whose responsibility is it to check for cargo on any boating safety trips?
Officer Kaipad Yoye sigura yala nga po amuri meta karga li walbot. Meta yoye rasain li wo altarwako.
Sarman lera bala sa hindi wo pipi karha.
There's no one that is assigned to do a look at the cargo.
Okay, for the members, I want to note that this vessel usage report dated August 6, 2020, with Sergeant Adrian Mendiola, a Lieutenant E. Kaipat, and PO1 Kobe Tamakani. And it is the testimony of the witness today that he doesn't know who is in charge or who looks at the cargo or who weighs the cargo based mines the cargo is what I've heard for 2 days. Officer Kaipat, on an impact boat, based on this vehicle usage report, on an impact boat, does it take 250 gallons to reach Rhoda?
Congresswoman Chair Kayak ngere Robo Meg Castor Gas Gasolina Red Tripia Luta.
So lebo sap ngarehal svel sapal ngamliki gas libot.
I don't know because I'm not the one that gas the boat.
But based on your experience, I'm not asking if you were the person responsible to gas the boat. Based on your experience, your 13 years of experience at boating safety, does it take 250 gallons to reach Rhoda on the impact boat?
Relamo experience while boarding safety. Hule were Robo Meg Castor Gas Hula Luta.
Del ves Milelinga matiu mas sefer mile 250.
El wala peli metamura.
Rela papidian beso iset dian nge 250 na gas we matiu mas sefer.
In this document, it's written 250 gallon of gas to go to Rota and come back to Saipan.
Thank you. I see that on the document, but based on your experience, does it take 250 gallons to reach Rhoda on an impact boat? Based on your experience. I see what is written on the document, but based on your experience, does it take 250 gallons of gasoline to reach Rhoda from Saipan?
Chairwoman ikayang long experience mangang boarding safety ngare zapal gasolina 250 ruabu lime buhula luta ng asphalt to Saipan.
Point of clarity, Chair, are you asking for just to Rhoda or to Rhoda and back?
Just according to the document, this just says PSD to Rhoda.
So you're asking just to Rhoda?
To Rhoda, yes.
Okay, just because the translator said to Rhoda and back to Saipan. So just trying to be clear.
to Rhoda from Saipan. Will the witness please answer?
I'm not sure. Mr. Gully.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I'm done. Recognize. Is there anybody else? Okay, I will recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you. So a few more follow-up questions. Lieutenant Kaipat, if nobody is checking the cargo, is it possible that illegal drugs, weapons, or endangered species could be transported on DPS boats?
Can I ask you to break it down?
Sure.
You can go phrase by phrase, and we'll translate it that way.
Sure. Okay. Lieutenant Kaipat, if nobody is checking the cargo on the DPS boats, translator,
Okay, kaya Congresswoman Tina Sablan, ngere sedamo lual wayel ngere esor malde ebu amuri me metautul wa ngarabot.
Continue, Rep. Sablan.
is it possible that illegal drugs, weapons, or endangered species
Emala ihara sistekine karga ebu yoro sigura endangered species kamal marianas malan. The illegal drugs je loa ikasor male kamuri. Kai ngere emala wo to milla ikasor male ke amuri.
Continue.
that these items could be transported on DPS boats?
Ngere mal robo karga lilal bottom of DPS boarding safety.
Sa pala trabaho ibu pipi metanakar no salita. All bot.
It's not my job to look at the cargo. What is the content of the cargo?
Mm-hmm. But the question is not, is it your job? The question is it possible?
Kaya ngere ayagla ngasa yam trabaho ngere M1. Boyor ngo suhule.
Botul presem na metawior mikumu na isilder.
Oh, it's his response that it's a DPS boat. Why should we have illegal drugs or endangered species? That's really the interpretation.
Mm-hmm. But again, if we could, Chair, please direct the witness to
Yeah.
answer the question. If nobody is checking the cargo, is it possible that these illegal items could be transported on DPS boats?
Will the witness please answer? Is it possible?
Wawasak milo kaya ngere emwel. Wara buhi karhala au sugule au sukke amuri. Ngere illegal drug endangered species. Milir karhalitas. Bihasar mala kamuri meta karha.
Balo sa iparpiti ni sa pala trabaho ang meta palur miklawal botul pulsar.
Well, he's saying it's not his job, and why should their cargo on the police boat?
Because if nobody's checking, then it could be possible, correct?
It was a mulsago iraang rasa was salam tarbago.
Will the witness please answer?
Itim taura.
Rekaya ngere
Sure.
emwal.
The question is, if nobody's checking, then it could be possible.
Will you repeat the question? Yes.
Yeah. If nobody's checking, then it could be possible.
Yala iya Congresswoman ngere sorma le kamuri karaka. Ngere mwal we were endangered species of carrying illegal drugs. Oh ngere sa.
Sumana bu sistem karhak la wal bot nam HPP ba botul polisiak.
They cannot carry any cargo because it's the boarding safety vessel.
Right. And we've already established so far that there is nobody checking to make sure. Okay.
Did I hear correctly? Did the witness say they cannot carry cargo on a DPS boat? Can I get that clarified?
I believe it was that kind of cargo. They cannot put those kind of cargo on a DPS boat.
Well, we weren't asking, we were asking, is it possible then? Because nobody's checking. Is it possible that endangered species could possibly be loaded on these boats? Is it possible? That's the question.
Emwal ebo yaba repeat mila ebo yor karakla wall DPS bowling safety
Sumuan.
cannot. You cannot have that kind of cargo.
Chair, I believe there's a slight mistranslation. He's saying no because they wouldn't put that type of cargo on a DPS boat.
Unacceptable. He didn't say that.
Not this last one, but the one before. So his translation was incomplete.
I'm asking for the witness to repeat this last question, answer to the last question. Is it possible?
Emwal refer mila
Sumuan ba botul polisia min le kibuhi.
he cannot because it's the boat or the DPS.
Fair enough. Let the record reflect that the witness has said that it is not possible that illegal drugs, endangered species, or any such cargo like that would get on a DPS boat or be loaded on a DPS boat because it is a DPS boat. Let the record also reflect that the witness has stated repeatedly that he does not check the cargo. And let the record reflect from yesterday, Adrian Mendola's testimony that he doesn't check what is loaded on the DPS boat. Thank you. Representative Sablan, you may continue.
Thank you, Chair. And if I may just further add to that, let the record reflect that our witnesses have also indicated that there is nobody, as far as they know, whose job it is to check the cargo on a DPS boat. Okay, moving on. Lieutenant Kaipat, besides Governor Ralph Torres, has any other elected official, to your knowledge, used DPS boats and officers for fishing trips?
Lieutenant Kaipa de or kahule or kaya officer de la cinema ye wala awalumur escorted
Sumani.
I don't remember.
And besides Ralph Torres, has any other elected official used DPS boats and officers for transportation to other islands?
Ayor, yara yeka Congresswoman sablanger ayor akashe kare elir wa Congreso ngar oficiado senamai o escorlir la ia.
Simanyi.
I don't remember.
And has any other elected official, besides Ralph Torres, used DPS boats and officers for transportation to Menengaha?
Ayor kakashe ya oficiado senamai. Ya reilir ubumur la kalakal.
Simanyi.
I don't remember.
And besides Ralph Torres, has any other elected official used DPS boats and officers for transportation for his family members?
Ayor ka uhulei wa botol DPS remum familia la ia. Realmente umangi uhulei. Ayor ngeresar.
Familialio.
Ești wawara familia gobierno mingor ka.
Translate what is separate.
Oh, he said, what family you're talking about? That's really what.
I see. Any family members, wife, brothers, children? Please translate.
Ukera nami yung re buil ralimal re buil ralimal yorka hule wa rumurla ya wala bottle DPS boarding safety.
Simanyi.
Uh,
I don't remember.
Okay. And then I guess my final question or comment is for Lieutenant Kaipat, as a DPS officer of more than 20 years serving and protecting our community, do you appreciate when the witnesses that you interview are forthcoming and honest in their answers?
Can you break that down, Representative Sablon?
Yes. As a DPS officer,
Go ahead.
Ngerayel arrebal visadul DPS
with more than 20 years of experience
maski ruegra
serving
experience
and protecting our community,
ufermilo amalar protect memetaya capture muscles by cinema.
do you appreciate when the witnesses that you interview are forthcoming and honest in their answers?
Kaya ngere u agradecimento aí rekai witnesses maka akapala were witness lal hauser meta mefion
Awad. Berhalang li alatan. Papidel bangali Congresswoman. Berskabali salangal metaya lolan dia mile halahi. Mile raklo papidel memalibu answer dia.
yes, I agree or appreciate whatever is here is what I'm responding to. If nothing, then I cannot respond to the document.
Thank you. And that's all that we've ever asked of you, Lieutenant Kaipat, is to be honest and forthcoming. And that's all that we've ever asked of any of our witnesses in this proceeding. Thank you. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the other members? If not, we will now dismiss the witness. Officer Kaipat, Don Clunasizus Masi, ni Vinatomo Pago. I thank you for your service, your 28 years of service. I know you have served with my husband. And we'll be praying for all the voting safety personnel when they go out. We always keep you guys in our prayers. And also, thank you. The witness is now dismissed. Huh? We will take a 20-minute recess. We will return at 4. 8th and return on June 10th. Can we scroll down to the memo? This is a memo signed by the Commissioner of Public Safety to the Secretary of Finance on June 5th, 2017. Subject is DPS travel from Saipan to Rota and Guam. Purpose of the travel stated here is escort Governor Ralph D. Leon Guerrero Torres to Rota and to Guam by boat. Travelers include then Police Officer 3 Henry Emery L. Kaipat, Police Officer 3 David K. Rabaldiman, and Police Officer 2 Adrian T. Mandiola will depart Saipan on June 8th, 2017 to Rota. Then they will depart Rota to Guam on June 9th, 2017 to Guam, and return back to Saipan on June 10th, 2017 by boat. At this time, I would also like to put up the boat logs. According to the boat log that they keep at the Boating Safety Office, on Thursday, June 8th, 17th, the governor could not have possibly been escorted. And it says, scroll down, please. Right there under 1430. It says Zodiac 3-10-6, which we have already established with witness Emery Kaipat, to depart to shadow Governor, Northern Island, Paka Paka. Zodiac 2 departs, escorting Zodiac 3 and Gov boat out to channel aboard Zodiac 2. Lieutenant Bernard Santos and PO3A7. Can we scroll down further? Keep on. At around 8:22 p.m. or 1922, P11, P49 on sat phone, Zodiac 1061, 15 miles south of Anatohan. Continue, please. June 9th. Logbook. There we go. And on Friday, the next day, June 9th, 2017, the governor was actually heading back from Anatohan. He was not anywhere near Guam, according to this boat log. And met at the marina, arrived at the marina. And then scroll down further, please. At 8:54 a.m., P47, 1016, 103 Greens gas of the Zodiac 3. Scroll down further, please. There we go. Can we scroll up a little bit more? I want to see. The Zodiac 3 was launched and ready for Guam trip. Scroll down. At 11 o'clock a.m., the Zodiac 3 departed Smiling Cove Marina en route to Guam with 201 or with the governor. Also, at 3:55 p.m. the same day, June 9th, Zodiac 3 arrives in Guam. Therefore, we can conclude that the original travel documents for Lieutenant Emery Kaipat, Mr. Adrian Mendiola, and other DPS boating safety personnel were not escorting the governor on June 7th or 8th to Guam. Can we go to the exhibit dated June 10th? On June 10th at 0400, Zodiac 3 was on standby for Gov in Guam, according to the boat log. At 0600, Zodiac 3 departs Guam, heading back to Saipan. And scroll down further. And at about 11:31 that morning, the Zodiac 3 and a 17-footer were logged in as being by Goat Island. He departs from Goat Island, heading to Smiling Cove Marina. Can we down, down. Keep on. Is that it? Oh, okay. So we have been able to establish that the travel authorization prepared for boating safety personnel to travel on June 7th, 8th, or 9th to escort the governor from Saipan to Guam could not possibly have the governor being escorted, as we have been able to establish by the own records of boating safety that the governor was actually near Anatohan. However, on June 10th, the governor was apparently in Guam traveling back with a 17-footer boat. At this time, I will recognize any other members who would like to make any statements.
Yes, ma'am.
I will recognize Representative Edwin Probst.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, colleagues. Wow, it's so calm in here right now. It's been a interesting past couple of days, and I just want to commend you, Madam Chair, for keeping your cool and for allowing that for making the right decisions and the right calls. I think we were really being tested, and I think we learn and we adapt and we get better. I wanted to say for the record that there have been many things, many accusations made about how we handled this, and some of the things that were even said from Lieutenant Kaipat's own legal counsel, that in some way we did not afford the his client, Lieutenant Kaipat, the same rights as we had afforded to previous witnesses, such as Ms. Keiko Rosario. And as everybody knows, anybody who's watched knows that they were the same, one and the same. I just wanted to state for the record that Ms. Keiko would ask for the questions to be translated when needed. As the day progressed and the afternoon, and we went on into the afternoon, many of the questions she would just answer. But in no way, in no shape or form, have we tried to stop any of our witnesses from speaking in the language they choose, whether it be English, Chamorro, or Carolinian. I find it disparaging and really hurtful that such comments could be made when when we have all worked as a body, and that includes with the minority, and we represent multiple different backgrounds, and it's just disheartening to see somebody that could take that route. And I don't know if it was theatrics or semantics and trying to ploy an us versus them kind of thing. But I think in the end, we did prevail with your leadership, Madam Chair. So again, I commend you, and I know that moving forward will be better. I also want to state that Lieutenant Kaipat, like our previous witnesses, is not a target. We are simply asking for information. At no time were we trying to, as far as I can see, trying to discredit them, but we did want them to be forthcoming and honest with their answers, as we should expect, as we should hope for, especially with his distinguished long career, 28 years of service. Lieutenant Kaipet should be commended. And again, when he asked that he testify in Carolinian, we respected that and allowed that. So many things can be said. We can't control that. That's beyond our control. But I do appreciate that in the end, we did, again, do our jobs and we did prevail. Madam Chair, I also want to point out with regard to some of the questions that were asked today, and one of the questions that I had asked about to Lieutenant Kaipat in his 13 years at boating safety, if he could recall or if he remembered um, providing security detail for former Governor Fitio or our late Governor Yunus, and he did not recall such. But certainly through the testimony of Sergeant Adrian Mendiola and Lieutenant Kaipat, and literally the dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of documents that we have gone through on them providing security detail, these trips that have gone on since 2017, they're numerous. As both of them have said, there's so many, it's hard to recall. There's so many trips that have been taken up to provide security detail. But I wanted to point out also the cost factor in all of this, that at a time when the Department of Public Safety comes here, I'm sorry, didn't come here this time because Commissioner didn't appear before this House, but in previous times, when they have asked and pleaded for more funding, what we have noticed is this huge amount of money that has been spent and or misspent. It's been tremendous amount. Just for the record, if you look at the fact that a trip to Pagan, they're estimating based on these records, about 300 gallons of fuel would be burned for a round trip ticket for one boat. Sometimes there's more, right? And much more fuel and other things, not to forget personnel that's also being paid. But just one trip on fuel alone is almost $1,500. Now multiply that by, dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, and all the other things that are attached to it. This is something that the commissioner should be concerned about. How necessary is it for all these trips to be taking place? And we've asked, what are these trips for? And it seems they are purely for recreational trips, for fishing. And is that the best that we can do when it comes to being fiscally conservative? And why is the governor given this privilege when others are not? So and also when they do this, they take away resources for search and rescue. Because both Sergeant Mendiola and Lieutenant Kaipat, when they mentioned their duties and responsibilities, it was interesting to note, if you look back on the tape, that neither had stated part of our duties is to provide security detail for the governor. They said to provide search and rescue, to provide different things that dealt with the safety of our people. So just some things to take away. But thank you. That's all I have for right now, and I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Probst. I also want to state that, a leader is only as good as the team who support them. So I rely heavily on your help, all of you, each member of this JGO committee. I also want to state that to the law enforcement officers and government employees, it is our duty as JGO committee to continue with these examinations of the governor's expenditure of public funds, and we thank you for your cooperation. And if you have any suggestions or comments or any information, feel free to call any member of this JGO committee, because we are serious about the job that we do and the job for the people of the Marianas. At this time, are there any other members who would like to make comments? Recognize Representative Vicente Camacho.
Thank you, Chair. I think my concern here in this past 2 days of investigation, I think my biggest concern is the fact that the questions about cargo, that's a very important question that we are asking. The fact that no one knows or checks on this cargo is very concerning, and the fact that they go into Guam and still said nobody checks on them. I guess they are free to get into Guam without customs having any concerns. I don't think that's right. However, that has been part of the testimony, and it is very concerning. And it would be interesting to see or hear what Guam Customs have to say about that. Thank you. I yield.
Are there any other members who would like to make comments? I recognize Representative Richard Lizama.
Just to top it off, thank you, Chairwoman. To top it off, for example, what he just said about the cargo. As a commander of any vessels or any moving transportation, the captain is responsible for everything. And that's one of the questions I asked today. Are they familiar with, or have they ever gotten a training on the vessel uses report? Because whoever's in charge or a captain, boat captain, should be responsible for everything that's on the boat. And so I believe it's not part of the question to be asked. I believe that we should ask for their, in the future, for the standing operation procedures. We need to know if they have one. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lizama. Any other members? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to offer some of my notes on the exhibits that I submitted from the vessel usage reports that were provided by Lieutenant Kaipat. And Cam, if you could please bring up those exhibits, the April 28, 2019, July 2nd, 2019, and August 6, 2020 boating safety log sheets. And I'm sorry, the vessel usage reports, thank you. And I would note that these are just a sampling, a small sampling of numerous reports in the boating safety records that were provided pursuant to this committee's subpoena duces tecum that document protective services detail and escorts provided by boating safety for the governor, and in the case of the July 2nd, 2019 trip, for the First Lady as well. And although there was much that Lieutenant Kaipat said he didn't know or could not remember, I do think his testimony was helpful in explaining some of the procedures and deciphering some of the codes and the jargon that were used in this report and the boating safety logs. And he did provide that information to the committee. So we know from the record that there were many, many boating trips that the governor went on using DPS boats and officers throughout the Mariana Islands. We know this from the records that were provided from boating safety, and we know this from the testimonies thus far. And these trips included Rota, Tinian, Goat Island, the Northern Islands, Manigaha, and Guam. The trips involved many hours of boating operation, many hours of engine runtime, thousands of gallons of fuel, not to mention the resources of our search and rescue officers, their time, their energy, their overtime as well. We know from the testimonies that we've heard so far that members of the governor's family, including his brothers and his wife, also accompanied him on these trips. We know that DPS resources were expended even for personal trips, for fishing, namely, or other recreation. And the officers who have testified thus far have said that there is a chain of command at DPS, and they follow the instructions that they are given. And at least what we heard today is that some of these instructions come down from the commissioner. And I do hope that he will be next in our lineup of witnesses soon, Madam Chair. And, who does the commissioner answer to? Of course, the governor. There are many reports in the record about the governor going out on these DPS boats or being escorted by DPS boats with no destination recorded. And we know from the testimony that we heard earlier that sometimes there were no real destinations. As Sergeant Mendiola attested, some of these were just fishing trips out in the open water before the boats came back. I am, like Representative Camacho, also concerned by the testimonies and information that we've received that there really does not appear to be a system of checking cargo on DPS boats as they move in and around the islands, including Guam, getting inspected by anyone. There does not appear to be a system of even tracking passengers. So if there are any incidents out in the open water, God forbid, that seems to be a pretty significant liability that the government should address as soon as possible. But for the purposes of this investigation as well, the records, as voluminous as they are, which show many, many trips with the governor on DPS boats, there's a lot that is missing from the records. And where did these boats go? Was there a public purpose? Who else was on these trips? And if we have officers who were there but who don't remember or say they don't remember, it's getting to the truth of what's happened with these public resources is even more challenging for this body. Those are my notes for today, Madam Chair, and at this time I yield.
Thank you. At this time, we will recess this meeting until Monday, August. Can somebody tell me what date that is? August 30th at 2 p.m. to receive the testimony of our next witness, the Assistant Chief of Police and the officer in charge of the boating safety program, Mr. Kevin Aldon. This meeting is hereby in recess. It is now 5:05 p.m. until Monday, August 30th at 2 p.m. Thank you.